The sound that would haunt Nadia Thompson for weeks came from her daughter's bedroom. It started as a whimper, then built into sobs that shook the walls of their suburban home. Nadia dropped the laundry basket she'd been carrying and ran up the stairs, her heart hammering against her ribs. When she pushed open Zara's bedroom door, she found both her children huddled together on the pink bedspread. Isaiah, her 12-year-old son who prided himself on being tough, had tears streaming down his face. Zara, only 9, was curled into her brother's side, her whole body shaking. "Babies, what happened? Are you hurt?" Nadia rushed to them, her hands already checking for injuries, her mind racing through terrible possibilities. They weren't supposed to be home yet. Brandon had taken them to his hotel downtown for a Saturday pool day while he finished up his business conference. They weren't due back until dinner time. Isaiah looked up at her with eyes that seemed too old, too knowing for a 12-year-old boy. "Mom, we saw Dad." "I know, sweetie. You were with him at the hotel." Nadia smoothed her hand over Zara's braids, trying to calm the trembling child. "No, Mom. We saw Dad." Isaiah's voice cracked on the last word. "We saw him with a woman. They were kissing. Like really kissing. By the pool." The world tilted sideways. Nadia felt like someone had reached into her chest and squeezed all the air from her lungs. She sat down hard on the edge of the bed, her legs suddenly unable to support her weight. "What? Are you sure? Maybe it was Dad, Mama." Zara's small voice was barely a whisper. "We went to get ice cream from the snack bar. Isaiah let me get 2 scoops because Dad gave him money. When we came back, Dad wasn't at our chairs anymore. We looked around and we saw him. He was in a corner with a lady with long red hair. She was wearing a green swimsuit. Dad had his hands on her face and they were kissing." Nadia's stomach lurched. She wanted to tell her children they were wrong, that they'd misunderstood what they'd seen. But the details were too specific. The pain in their eyes too real. "Did he see you?" The question came out in a whisper. Isaiah shook his head. "We ran. We just ran. We found a taxi outside and came home. I used my emergency money." His voice rose with distress. "Mom, I'm sorry. We weren't supposed to leave Dad, but I couldn't. I didn't know what to do. Zara was crying and I just wanted to come home." "You did the right thing, baby. You did exactly the right thing." Nadia pulled both her children close, holding them as they cried. Her own tears were hot on her cheeks, but she tried to keep her voice steady. "I'm so sorry you saw that. I'm so sorry." They sat like that for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. Nadia's mind was spinning. 14 years of marriage. 14 years of believing in the life they'd built together. Brandon was supposed to be at a 3-day conference for his marketing firm. He'd left Thursday morning with his overnight bag and his laptop, kissing her at the door, reminding her that he'd take the kids on Saturday so she could have some time to herself. Time to herself. The thought made her want to laugh or scream or both. While she'd been doing laundry and grocery shopping and meal prepping for the week, her husband had been poolside with another woman. While their children watched. "Mom, are you and Dad going to get divorced?" Zara's question cut through the fog in Nadia's brain. She wanted to say no. Wanted to promise that everything would be fine. But she'd never lied to her children and she wouldn't start now. "I don't know yet, baby. But I promise you this. Whatever happens, you and Isaiah are going to be okay. I'm going to make sure you're okay." Isaiah pulled back and looked at her with those 2 old eyes again. "You should leave him, Mom. If he can do this, if he can cheat on you and hurt you like this, you should leave him." The words from her 12-year-old son felt like both a punch and a validation. She cupped his face in her hands. "Right now, let's just focus on taking care of each other. Can you do that for me?" Both children nodded. Nadia got them settled in front of the television with snacks, something she rarely allowed before dinner, but today the normal rules didn't apply. Today everything had changed. She went to her bedroom and closed the door. The room she'd shared with Brandon for over a decade suddenly felt foreign. The blue comforter they'd picked out together last year. The framed photos on his nightstand showing the 4 of them at various stages of family life. All of it felt like props in a play she hadn't known she was performing in. Nadia sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out her phone. Part of her wanted to call Brandon right now, to scream at him, to demand answers. But another part of her, the part that was already shifting into survival mode, knew that would be a mistake. If she confronted him now, he'd have time to prepare. Time to delete messages, hide evidence, craft his story. Instead, she opened her laptop and started searching. How to prepare for divorce. Signs of infidelity. Protecting your assets. She took notes in a small journal she kept in her nightstand, her hands shaking as she wrote. Her phone buzzed with a text from Brandon. "Hey babe, kids left without telling me. They there? Everything okay?" Nadia stared at the message. So casual. So unconcerned. Did he really think Isaiah and Zara had just wandered off? Or did he suspect they'd seen something? She typed back, "They're home. Feeling sick. Going to let them rest." His response came quickly, "Want me to come home?" "No. Finish your conference. We'll talk when you get back tomorrow." "Okay. Love you." Nadia couldn't type those words back. Instead she sent a thumbs-up emoji and set her phone down. The rest of Saturday passed in a blur. She made the kids' favorite dinner, mac and cheese with breadcrumb topping. They ate quietly, the usual dinnertime chatter absent. She let them sleep in her bed that night, their warm bodies pressed against hers, and she stayed awake staring at the ceiling until sunrise. Sunday morning, Nadia got up early and made pancakes. She was flipping the last one when her phone rang. Brandon's name flashed on the screen. She took a deep breath and answered. "Hey honey, conference wrapped up early. I'm heading home now. Should be there by noon." "Okay," she said, keeping her voice neutral. "Is everything all right? You sound weird." "Just tired. Didn't sleep well." "Well, I'll be home soon and we can relax together. Maybe get the kids out of the house so we can have some us time." Us time. The phrase made her nauseous. "Sure. See you soon." She hung up and looked at her children, who were watching her carefully from their seats at the kitchen table. "Dad's coming home early," she said. "What are you going to do?" Isaiah asked. Nadia set down the spatula and sat at the table with them. "I'm going to ask him some questions. And depending on his answers, I'm going to make some decisions. But I need you both to trust me, okay? Can you do that?" They nodded, and Nadia felt something harden in her chest. Something that felt like resolve. Like strength she didn't know she had. Brandon had broken their trust. He'd broken their family. And she was going to make sure he understood exactly what that meant. The 3 hours before Brandon came home were the longest of Nadia's life, but she didn't waste a single minute. After breakfast, she set the kids up in Isaiah's room with instructions to stay there and play video games together. Then she went to work. She started with Brandon's home office. The small room off the living room had always been his private space, but today privacy didn't matter. She opened his desk drawers systematically, photographing anything that looked relevant with her phone. Credit card statements he'd kept in a locked drawer. The lock wasn't difficult to pick with a bobby pin and some patience, something she'd learned from a mystery novel years ago. The statements told a story she didn't want to believe. Charges at expensive restaurants on nights Brandon had told her he was working late. Hotel room bookings in the city when he supposedly had morning meetings. Purchases at a jewelry store 3 weeks before Valentine's Day, but Nadia had received only a grocery store bouquet and a card on the actual holiday. Her hands shook as she photographed each page, but she forced herself to stay calm. Emotions later. Evidence now. Next, she went to their bedroom and retrieved Brandon's iPad from his nightstand drawer. He rarely used it anymore, preferring his phone, but it was still linked to his iCloud account. When she opened the Messages app, her heart sank even as her resolve strengthened. There were thousands of texts to a contact saved simply as CW. They went back 13 months. Over a year of messages. Over a year of lies. Nadia scrolled through them, her stomach churning with each sweet nothing, each explicit exchange, each casual mention of plans made behind her back. The woman's name was Courtney. Courtney Wells. She worked in Brandon's office in the design department. One message from 2 weeks ago made Nadia pause. "I can't wait until you tell her. I'm tired of being the secret." Brandon's response, "Soon, baby. I promise. Just need to find the right time. Don't want to traumatize the kids." The right time. As if there was ever a right time to destroy your children's sense of security. As if he cared about their trauma while planning to blow their lives apart. But what struck Nadia most was a message from yesterday. "Pool day was perfect. Your kids are sweet, but I can't wait until it's just us. Did you tell them about me?" Brandon's response, "Not yet. They just think you're a friend from work. Soon though." So Courtney had been there. At the pool. The children had seen their father kiss the woman he was planning to replace their mother with. Nadia screenshot every message, every photo Courtney had sent, every plan they'd made. She airdropped them all to her own phone and then to the cloud, creating multiple backups. She was methodical, careful, thorough. In the back of the closet, hidden in a shoebox marked old tax returns, she found more evidence. A burner phone. Because of course there was a burner phone. The messages on it were even more explicit, going back 2 years. 2 years. Her 14-year marriage, and at least 2 of those years had been a lie. There were other names in the burner phone. Red, Sunshine, Gym Girl. Brandon hadn't just had one affair. He'd had several. Courtney was just the current one. The one who thought she was special enough to be permanent. Nadia felt sick. How had she missed this? Were there signs she'd ignored? Or had Brandon just been that good at deceiving her? She photographed everything from the burner phone too, then put it back exactly where she'd found it. She returned the iPad to the drawer, the credit card statements to the locked drawer after locking it again. Everything needed to look untouched. In her own phone, she created a secure folder and moved all the evidence there, password protected. Then she texted her sister Simone, "Need you. Can you come over?" Simone's response was immediate, "On my way." 20 minutes. Nadia went to check on the kids. They were still in Isaiah's room, but they weren't playing games. Isaiah was on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Zara was coloring with fierce intensity, her markers stabbing at the paper. "You okay, babies?" Nadia asked from the doorway. "When's Dad getting here?" Isaiah asked without looking at her. "Soon. Your Aunt Simone is coming over too." "Good." Isaiah sat up. "Mom, I know you're looking for proof. I know that's what you've been doing. And I'm glad. You deserve better than what Dad's been doing." The maturity in his voice broke something in Nadia's heart. Her son shouldn't have to know about things like this. Shouldn't have to think about betrayal and divorce and evidence gathering. "You're right, baby. I do deserve better. And so do you. Both of you." She sat on the edge of his bed. "Your dad made choices that hurt all of us. But I promise you we're going to get through this." Zara looked up from her coloring. "Will we still see Dad?" "Yes, honey. He's still your father. That doesn't change. What changes is that he and I won't be married anymore." "Good," Zara said firmly, then went back to her aggressive coloring. Simone arrived exactly 20 minutes later. Nadia's older sister took one look at her face and pulled her into a tight hug. "Tell me what happened," Simone said. They sat in the kitchen while Nadia explained everything. The kids seeing Brandon with Courtney. The messages. The evidence of multiple affairs over years. Simone's face grew darker with each revelation. "I'm going to end him," Simone said when Nadia finished. "No, I'm going to end him. Legally. Completely. But I need your help. Anything. I need you to be my witness. When he gets here, I'm going to confront him. I need you to hear what he says. Record it if you can." Simone nodded. "Already got my phone ready." At 11:47, Brandon's car pulled into the driveway. Nadia watched through the living room window as he got out, looking relaxed and happy. He grabbed his overnight bag from the trunk and headed for the front door. Nadia positioned herself in the living room. Simone sat in the armchair in the corner, phone in hand. The kids stayed upstairs as instructed. Brandon opened the door with his key and walked in smiling. "Honey, I'm home." The smile faded when he saw both Nadia and Simone staring at him. "What's going on? Why is Simone here?" Nadia stood up slowly. She changed into a red blouse and black pants, wanting to feel strong and put together for this moment. "We need to talk." "About what?" But something in his eyes said he already knew. Or suspected. "About Courtney Wells. About your affair. About the fact that our children saw you kissing another woman yesterday and came home traumatized." Brandon's face went white. His overnight bag dropped from his hand. "Nadia, I can explain." "I don't want explanations. I want you to know that I've seen everything. The messages. All of them. Not just Courtney. The others too. 2 years of messages, Brandon. Probably more I haven't found yet." He took a step toward her and she held up her hand. Don't come closer. Don't try to touch me. Just listen. Nadia, please. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been cheating on me. Multiple times, multiple women. While I was home raising our children, supporting your career, believing in our marriage, you were out there treating me like I was nothing. You're not nothing. You're everything to me. Those other women, they didn't mean anything. Then why? The question came out as a shout. Nadia hadn't meant to yell, but the anger was rising now, hot and fierce. Why would you risk everything for people who meant nothing? Brandon's mouth opened and closed. He had no answer. There was no good answer. "I want you out," Nadia said. "I want you out of this house today. Now." "Nadia, you can't just kick me out. This is my house too." "Actually, I can. And I will. You can go stay with Courtney. I'm sure she'd love that, seeing as she's so tired of being a secret." Brandon's eyes widened. "You read my messages?" "Every single one. Back them all up too. Along with the credit card statements, the hotel receipts, And everything on that burner phone you have hidden in the closet. Did you really think a shoebox marked old tax returns was a good hiding place? He looked genuinely shocked now. And maybe a little scared. Good. I'm filing for divorce, Nadia continued. I'm getting a lawyer tomorrow morning. And you need to leave. Pack a bag. Whatever you need. But I want you out within the hour. What about the kids? I need to talk to them. No. You don't get to talk to them right now. You traumatized them. They saw you with that woman. Do you understand what that did to them? Brandon's face crumpled. I never meant for them to see. I never meant to hurt them. But you did. You hurt all of us. And now you have to live with that. Nadia crossed her arms. 1 hour, Brandon. Then I'm changing the locks. He stood there for a long moment looking like he wanted to argue. But Simone stood up from the armchair, phone still in hand, and that seemed to make his decision for him. Fine. I'll pack a bag. But this isn't over, Nadia. We need to talk about this properly. There's nothing to talk about. My lawyer will be in touch. Brandon trudged up the stairs. Nadia could hear him in their bedroom, opening drawers and closet doors. Simone came and stood beside her. You were amazing, Simone whispered. I recorded everything. Thank you, Nadia whispered back. 30 minutes later, Brandon came down with a large suitcase and his laptop bag. He paused at the bottom of the stairs. Can I at least say goodbye to Isaiah and Zara? Nadia considered it. 2 minutes. And I'm standing right there. She walked with him to Isaiah's room. The kids looked up when the door opened. Neither of them moved toward their father. Hey guys, Brandon said, his voice breaking. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about what you saw. I love you both so much. If you loved us, you wouldn't have hurt Mom, Isaiah said coldly. Brandon flinched like he'd been struck. Isaiah, buddy? I'm not your buddy. Just go. Brandon looked at Zara. She just stared at him with those big brown eyes and said nothing. Time's up, Nadia said. Brandon left the room, his shoulders slumped. Nadia followed him down the stairs and to the front door. He turned to look at her one more time. I do love you, Nadia. I know you don't believe me right now, but I do. If this is what you call love, Brandon, I don't want it. I deserve better. We all deserve better. He left without another word. Nadia closed the door behind him and immediately called a locksmith. They could be there within 2 hours. She walked back upstairs to where her children and sister were waiting. Simone pulled her into a hug. First step done, Simone said. Nadia nodded. She felt exhausted but also strangely energized. She'd done it. She'd confronted him. She'd taken the first step toward reclaiming her life. The hardest part was just beginning, but at least now she was on the path. And she wasn't going to look back. The locksmith left at 4:30 p.m. Nadia now had new keys to her house, keys that Brandon no longer had copies of. It was a small victory, but it felt significant. She stood on the front porch. After the locksmith's van pulled away, looking at the quiet suburban street she'd called home for 8 years. Everything looked the same. The Johnsons' house across the street with its perfectly manicured lawn. The Martinez family's minivan in their driveway, the one with the stick figure family decal in the back window. The old oak tree on the corner where kids climbed during the summer. Everything looked exactly as it had yesterday, but Nadia's entire world had shifted on its axis. Simone had stayed for dinner, ordering pizza because none of them felt like cooking. The kids ate in silence, still processing everything. After dinner, Simone hugged them all goodbye with promises to check in tomorrow and headed home. Nadia settled Isaiah and Zara in front of a movie, then retreated to the kitchen to research divorce attorneys. She was deep into reading reviews on her laptop when her phone rang. Brandon's name flashed on the screen. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. What do you want? Her voice was flat, emotionless. Nadia, please. I'm staying at a hotel downtown and I just need to talk to you. I need you to understand. Understand what, Brandon? That you've been cheating on me for years? I understand that perfectly. It wasn't like that. Courtney, she was just, things with us had gotten stale. You were always so busy with the kids and the house and I felt invisible. Nadia's grip tightened on the phone. Are you seriously trying to blame me for your affair? I was busy being a mother, being a wife, taking care of our home and our children while you were out there playing around. I'm not blaming you. I'm just trying to explain. I don't want your explanations. I want you to leave me alone so I can figure out how to fix what you broke. There was silence on the other end. Then, can I at least talk to the kids? No. Nadia, they're my children too. Children you traumatized. They need space right now. We all do. This is ridiculous. You can't keep them from me. Watch me. She hung up. The phone rang again immediately. She declined the call. It rang again. Declined. After the fourth time she blocked his number. Let him figure out how to communicate through lawyers. Monday morning came too quickly. Nadia got the kids ready for school, knowing the routine would be good for them even though none of them had slept well. Isaiah was quiet at breakfast, pushing his cereal around his bowl. Zara had dark circles under her eyes. Do we have to go to school? Zara asked. Everyone's going to know. Know what, baby? About Dad. About what he did. Tommy Martinez's mom is friends with you. She'll tell Tommy and then everyone will know. Nadia knelt down beside Zara's chair. If people find out, that's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I. Your father made choices that hurt us, but we don't have to be ashamed of that. But what if kids ask questions? Then you tell them it's private family business. You don't owe anyone explanations. Nadia smoothed Zara's braids. And if anyone gives you trouble, you tell your teacher and you call me. I'll be there in 5 minutes. After dropping the kids at school, Nadia headed to the office of Patricia Monroe, the divorce attorney Simone had recommended. Patricia's office was in a sleek downtown building. The reception area was decorated in calming blues and whites, with comfortable chairs and magazines about travel and design. Patricia herself was a tall black woman in her 50s, wearing a burgundy suit and carrying an air of confidence that Nadia envied. She ushered Nadia into her office and gestured to a leather chair. Tell me everything, Patricia said, pen poised over a legal pad. Nadia did. She started with the kids witnessing Brandon and Courtney at the pool and ended with blocking his number yesterday. Patricia took notes, asking questions occasionally, her expression growing more satisfied as Nadia described the evidence she'd gathered. You did good, Patricia said when Nadia finished. Most people come in here emotional and empty-handed. You came prepared. That's going to make this much easier. I want primary custody, Nadia said. And I want the house. I don't care about being vindictive, but I care about stability for my kids. They need to stay in their home, in their school. With the evidence you have of his infidelity and the affair partner being introduced to the children without your knowledge, we have a strong case for primary custody. As for the house, is it jointly owned? Yes. We bought it together 8 years ago. We'll fight for it. With his infidelity documented and the trauma to the children, a judge will likely favor keeping them in the family home. Patricia made more notes. What about finances? Do you work? I stopped working when Isaiah was born. I was in school for interior design, but I dropped out to be a stay-at-home mom. Brandon said it made sense because his salary was enough for all of us. So you sacrificed your career for the family. That works in our favor too. Patricia looked up. I'm going to file the paperwork today. He'll be served within 48 hours. Are you prepared for his reaction? He's already calling non-stop. I blocked his number. Good. Keep it that way. All communication should go through attorneys now. If he shows up at the house, don't let him in. If he becomes threatening, call the police. He's not violent, Nadia said. He thinks he can talk his way out of anything. Well, he can't talk his way out of this. Patricia's smile was sharp. By the time I'm done, he's going to understand that actions have consequences. Nadia left the office feeling lighter than she had in days. She had a plan now. A path forward. She wasn't just a wife who'd been betrayed. She was a woman taking control of her life. Her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Nadia, it's me. Don't hang up. Brandon. Of course he'd find a way around the block. I told you to leave me alone. I can't. I miss you. I miss the kids. I'm going crazy in this hotel room. That's your problem, not mine. Nadia, please. Can we at least talk? Face to face? I need to see you. No. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But we've been together 14 years. Doesn't that mean anything? Don't I deserve a chance to make this right? Nadia sat in her car in the parking garage, staring at the concrete wall in front of her. You had years to make it right. Years of chances. Every time you texted another woman, every time you lied about working late, every time you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me while planning to meet someone else. Those were all chances. You wasted them. I know I messed up. But I want to fix this. I'll do anything. There's nothing to fix, Brandon. It's over. Don't say that. We have kids together. We have a life together. We had a life together. You destroyed it. Nadia. His voice broke. Actually broke. She could hear him crying on the other end of the line. Part of her, the part that had loved him for 14 years, wanted to comfort him. But a stronger part, the part that was finally putting herself first, felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "I have to go," she said. "Wait. Just wait. The kids. At least let me talk to Isaiah and Zara. They must be so confused." "They're not confused. They understand perfectly. They saw you cheating on their mother. They understand that you broke our family. I never wanted them to see that. You have to believe me. What I believe doesn't matter anymore. You'll be served with divorce papers within 48 hours. Talk to your lawyer. Don't call this number again." She hung up and blocked this number too. Then she sat in her car and let herself cry. Not because she missed him or wanted him back, but because the life she'd imagined was truly over. The future she'd thought they'd have together was gone. She was grieving the death of a dream, not the man. After a few minutes, she wiped her eyes and started the car. She had errands to run. She stopped at the bank to open a new account in only her name, transferring half the money from their joint savings. Patricia had advised this. She stopped at the grocery store, buying ingredients for the kids' favorite meals this week. She went to the library and picked up books on divorce and co-parenting, wanting to understand what lay ahead. By the time she picked up Isaiah and Zara from school, she felt steadier, more grounded. They both ran to the car, and she could see from their faces that the day hadn't been as bad as they'd feared. "How was school?" she asked as they buckled in. "Fine," Isaiah said. "Nobody really said anything about Dad. I don't think anyone knows yet." "Good. And if they do find out, remember what I said. You don't owe anyone explanations." "Mom?" Zara's voice was small from the back seat. "Is Dad going to try to take us away from you?" Nadia's heart clenched. "No, baby. Even if Dad wanted to, which I don't think he does, a judge wouldn't let that happen. You're going to stay with me. We might have to visit Dad sometimes, but this is your home. That's not changing." "What if I don't want to visit Dad?" Isaiah asked. "Can I say no? We'll figure that out when the time comes. Right now, let's just focus on us, okay? We're going to be fine. Better than fine. We're going to be great." At home, Nadia made spaghetti and meatballs, the kids' favorite comfort food. They ate together at the kitchen table, and for the first time since Saturday there was laughter. Zara told a joke she'd heard at recess. Isaiah talked about a science project coming up. They were healing. Slowly, but they were healing. That night, after the kids were in bed, Nadia's phone rang again from another unknown number. She was about to decline when she realized it might be Patricia calling from a different line. "Hello?" "Nadia, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all day." "Brandon again. How many phones did this man have?" "Stop calling me." "Wait, please. I need to tell you something. I broke things off with Courtney." Nadia laughed. Actually laughed. "You think that matters to me? You think I care what you do with your mistress?" "I did it for you. To show you I'm serious about fixing our marriage." "There is no marriage to fix. It's dead. You killed it." "Don't say that. I love you." "No, you don't. You love having me as your safety net. You love having a wife at home while you play around. But that's not love. That's convenience. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Brandon. You taught me that." She paused, feeling something shift inside her. "You know what? I'm glad this happened." "What?" "I'm glad I found out. I could have spent another decade believing your lies. Another decade wasting my life on someone who didn't value me. So thank you actually. Thank you for being stupid enough to bring your mistress around our kids. Thank you for being careless enough to leave evidence. You did me a favor." "Nadia, you don't mean that." "I absolutely do. Now stop calling. You're going to be served tomorrow. Deal with it through your lawyer like an adult." She hung up and blocked the number. Then she turned off her phone completely, not wanting to deal with any more surprises tonight. In the morning she'd face whatever came next. But tonight she was going to take a long bath, drink a glass of wine, and start planning the next chapter of her life. A chapter that didn't include Brandon at all. Patricia Monroe worked fast. On Wednesday morning, exactly 48 hours after their first meeting, Nadia received a text message with a photo attachment. It showed Brandon standing at the front door of his office building, being handed a manila envelope by a process server. His face in the photo was a mixture of shock and anger. "Served?" Patricia's message read. "Let the games begin." Nadia stared at the photo for a long moment, feeling a complicated rush of emotions. Satisfaction. Sadness. Relief. Fear. All of it tangled together in her chest. Isaiah and Zara were at school. She had the house to herself for a few hours. She made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, finally allowing herself to feel the full weight of what was happening. Her marriage was truly over. There was no going back now. The legal process had begun. Her phone rang. Another unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something told her this might be important. Hello? Nadia Thompson? A male voice, formal and professional. Yes. This is Robert Chin calling on behalf of Brandon Thompson. I'm his attorney. I'd like to discuss the possibility of mediation before this goes any further. So Brandon had hired a lawyer. Good. Maybe now he'd stop trying to call her directly. I don't think there's anything to mediate, Nadia said calmly. The divorce is happening. The terms are non-negotiable. Mrs. Thompson, I understand you're upset. But divorce is a process that can be handled amicably, especially when children are involved. My client is willing to discuss a fair division of assets and a reasonable custody arrangement. Fair according to whom? Fair would have been my husband not cheating on me for years. Fair would have been him thinking about our children before he brought his mistress around them. We're past fair, Mr. Chin? There was a pause. I see you have strong feelings about this. But strong feelings don't always lead to the best outcomes. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting? You, me, Brandon, and your attorney? Talk to Patricia Monroe. She's handling everything. I'm not meeting with Brandon for any reason. Mrs. Thompson. Is there anything else, Mr. Chin? No, I suppose not. I'll be in touch with Ms. Monroe. Nadia hung up feeling strangely calm. Brandon was lawyering up. Fine. She was ready. The next few weeks passed in a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and appointments. Patricia filed for primary custody, spousal support, and division of assets including the house. Brandon's lawyer filed counter motions. Back and forth, the legal dance of divorce. Nadia fell into a new routine. Mornings with the kids, getting them ready for school. Days spent at the library using the free Wi-Fi to research her options and plan for the future. Afternoons picking up the kids, helping with homework, making dinner. Evenings spent going through finances, organizing documents, preparing for the fight ahead. Brandon tried multiple times to see the kids. He showed up at the school during pickup, but Nadia was always faster. He sent gifts to the house, which Nadia returned. He sent letters, which the kids refused to read. Isaiah was firm in his anger. Zara was confused and hurt. Neither of them wanted contact with their father, and Patricia assured Nadia that at their ages, their wishes would carry weight with a judge. For weeks after the papers were served, Nadia had her second meeting with Patricia. This time, she walked into the office with her head high, dressed in a bright blue dress that made her feel confident. You look good, Patricia said approvingly. How are you holding up? Better than I thought I would, Nadia admitted. Some days are harder than others. But I'm managing. Good. Because I have news. Patricia opened a file on her desk. Brandon's lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate. What are their terms? Joint custody, 50-50 split of assets including the house, no spousal support. Nadia shook her head. No. The kids don't want 50-50 custody. They don't want to see him at all right now. And I need the house for stability. That's what I told them. So they came back with another offer. Patricia slid a paper across the desk. He keeps the house, you get spousal support for 3 years and a lump sum payment from his retirement account. He wants to take the house from the kids? Nadia's voice rose. After everything he's done, he wants to uproot them from their home? It's a negotiating tactic. He knows you won't accept it. He's trying to make you desperate enough to settle for less. So what do? We call his bluff. We go to court. We present the evidence of his affair, the trauma to the children, the years you spent supporting his career while sacrificing your own. We paint a picture of a man who put his desires above his family. And we ask for exactly what we want. Which is primary custody with visitation rights for Brandon, pending the children's willingness. The house in your name. Spousal support until you can complete your degree and establish a career. Child support. And division of his retirement account and savings to compensate you for the years you spent out of the workforce. Nadia nodded slowly. How likely are we to get all that? With your evidence? Very likely. Judges don't look kindly on infidelity, especially when it's documented so thoroughly. And they prioritize the children's stability. You're the primary caregiver. You've been home with them since birth. You have a strong case. Then let's go to court. Patricia smiled. That's what I like to hear. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. In that time, Nadia threw herself into preparation. She wrote a statement about her marriage, about the day the kids came home traumatized, about her fears for their well-being. She organized every piece of evidence into neat folders. She practiced her testimony with Patricia until she could deliver it without crying. She also started making plans for her future. She contacted the community college about re-enrolling in her interior design program. She researched financial aid and scholarships. She found a part-time job at a local boutique, something to give her a sense of purpose and bring in a small income while the divorce proceedings continued. The kids slowly adjusted to their new normal. Isaiah threw himself into school and sports, channeling his anger into achievement. Zara went to therapy twice a week to process her feelings. Both of them asked occasionally about their father, but neither expressed any desire to see him. Brandon continued trying to reach out. He sent emails that Nadia forwarded to Patricia without reading. He sent cards for the kids' birthdays that they opened but didn't respond to. He showed up at Isaiah's baseball game and sat in the stands until Isaiah saw him and refused to play until he left. "He's desperate," Patricia said during one of their weekly check-ins. "His lawyer is pushing hard for a settlement. They know what we have on him. They know court won't go well." "I don't care if he's desperate," Nadia said. "He made his choices. Now he lives with the consequences." The night before the court date, Nadia couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how much had changed in 8 weeks. 8 weeks ago, she'd thought she had a solid marriage. Now she was hours away from ending it officially. But she didn't feel sad. She felt ready. Ready to close this chapter and start the next one. Ready to build a life for herself and her children that wasn't based on someone else's lies. In the morning, she dressed carefully in a maroon suit with a white blouse. Professional but not trying too hard. She wanted to look like what she was. A woman who had her life together despite her husband's attempts to destroy it. Simone came over early to watch the kids. "You've got this," she said, hugging Nadia tight. "You're going to walk in there and show that judge exactly who you are. A strong woman who deserves justice." The courthouse was intimidating. Large marble columns, echoing hallways, people in suits rushing past. Patricia met her outside the courtroom, looking sharp in a gray suit. "Remember," Patricia said. "Answer questions directly. Stay calm. Don't let his lawyer rattle you. You've done nothing wrong." "I know. And remember the goal. Protect your kids. Secure your future. Everything else is just noise." Nadia nodded. They walked into the courtroom together. Brandon was already there with his lawyer. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His suit hung loose on his frame. His eyes were red-rimmed and tired. When he saw Nadia, his face crumpled with some emotion she couldn't identify and didn't care to. The judge entered. A woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. Nadia felt a flutter of hope. A female judge might understand better. "We're here today regarding the dissolution of marriage between Nadia Thompson and Brandon Thompson," the judge said, reading from her notes. "I've reviewed the initial filings. This appears to be a contested divorce with disputes over custody, property division, and support. Is that correct?" Both lawyers confirmed. "Very well. Let's begin with testimony. Mrs. Thompson, would you like to make a statement?" Nadia stood. Her legs felt shaky, but her voice came out strong. "Your Honor, I was married to Brandon Thompson for 14 years. I thought we had a good marriage. I supported his career, raised our children, took care of our home. I trusted him completely. That trust was violated when I discovered he'd been having affairs for at least 2 years, possibly longer. Our children witnessed one of these affairs firsthand, which traumatized them. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to protect my children and secure the stability they deserve." The judge made notes. "Mr. Thompson, would you like to respond?" Brandon stood slowly. "Your Honor, I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. I hurt my wife and my children, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But I love my family. I want the chance to make things right. I'm asking for joint custody so I can be part of my children's lives. I'm willing to work with Nadia on everything else." "Noted," the judge said. "I'd like to hear from the children. Are they present?" "No, Your Honor," Patricia said. "But we have written statements from both children expressing their current feelings about visitation with their father." The judge read the statements Isaiah and Zara had written with their therapist. Nadia had read them herself and had cried. They were honest and painful. Isaiah wrote about feeling betrayed. Zara wrote about being scared of her dad now. When the judge finished reading, her expression had hardened. "I see. Let's move on to evidence of the alleged affairs." Patricia presented everything. The text messages. The credit card statements. The photos Courtney had sent. The timeline of lies. Brandon's lawyer tried to object, tried to claim privacy violations, but the judge overruled him. The evidence was legally obtained from jointly owned devices and accounts. By lunch recess, Nadia felt exhausted but hopeful. The judge seemed to be on her side. Brandon looked defeated, slumped in his chair, his lawyer whispering urgently to him. During the break, Brandon approached her in the hallway. Patricia stepped between them immediately. "You need to stay away from my client," Patricia said firmly. "I just want to talk," Brandon said, looking past Patricia to Nadia. "Please. 5 minutes." "No," Nadia said. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For everything. I know I can't fix what I broke, but I need you to know that I truly am sorry. Your apology doesn't change anything." "I know. But I had to say it anyway." He looked broken. Defeated. "I've lost everything. My marriage. My kids. They won't even talk to me. That's what happens when you make the choices you made." "I know." He looked down at his feet. "I'm not fighting for the house anymore. Tell your lawyer. She can have it. I just want some custody. I want to see my kids." "That's between you and the judge," Nadia said. "Now leave me alone." They went back into the courtroom. The afternoon session focused on finances and custody arrangements. Brandon's lawyer argued that he deserved equal custody, that the children just needed time to adjust, that their current feelings weren't permanent. Patricia countered with testimony from the children's therapist about the ongoing emotional impact of witnessing the affair. She presented evidence of Brandon's work schedule, showing that even when he was married, he'd rarely been home for dinner or bedtime. She argued that giving him 50-50 custody now would be destabilizing for children who were already traumatized. The judge listened to everything with careful attention. When both sides finished presenting, she announced she'd take a week to review all evidence and issue her ruling. Nadia left the courthouse feeling drained but satisfied. She'd done everything she could. Now it was in the judge's hands. "You did great in there," Patricia said as they stood on the courthouse steps. The judge was clearly sympathetic. "I think we're going to get what we asked for." "What about Brandon dropping his fight for the house?" Nadia asked. "I'll confirm it with his lawyer. If he's serious, it makes everything easier. Shows the judge he's being reasonable, which might help him get some visitation rights. I don't want the kids forced to see him if they're not ready. They won't be. Not at their ages. The judge will likely order supervised visitation to start, with the option to expand if the children express willingness. But that's in the future. For now, focus on what comes next for you." Nadia nodded. What came next was building a new life. And she was more than ready to begin. The judge's ruling came down exactly 1 week later. Nadia was at home, trying to distract herself with laundry, when Patricia called. "We won," Patricia said without preamble. "Everything. Primary custody to you. The house in your name. Spousal support for 5 years with possibility of extension if you're still completing your education. Child support. And division of retirement accounts weighted heavily in your favor due to your years out of the workforce." Nadia sat down hard on the couch. "Everything? Everything. Brandon gets supervised visitation twice a month, with the option for the children to decline if they're not comfortable. After 6 months, it can be reviewed for expansion if everyone agrees. But the kids are with you. The house is yours. You have financial security while you rebuild your career." "Oh my God." Nadia felt tears spring to her eyes. "Oh my God. You did this," Patricia said warmly. "You fought smart. You documented everything. You protected your kids. You won." After hanging up, Nadia sat in silence for a few minutes, letting it sink in. Then she called Simone. "I won," she said when her sister answered. "Primary custody. The house. Everything." Simone screamed so loud Nadia had to hold the phone away from her ear. "I'm coming over. Right now. We're celebrating." When Isaiah and Zara came home from school, Nadia sat them down and explained the judge's decision. Isaiah's whole face lit up. "So we don't have to move? We get to stay here? We get to stay here. This is our home. Forever." Zara hugged her tight. "And we don't have to see Dad if we don't want to? Not if you're not ready. And when you are ready, it'll be somewhere safe with other people around. You're in control." That night felt like a celebration. Simone brought pizza and ice cream. They ate in the living room and watched movies, the kids laughing for the first time in weeks without that shadow of worry behind their eyes. But Nadia's peace didn't last long. The next morning, her phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Unknown number. She declined. It rang again. Declined. After the fifth call, she answered, furious. What? Nadia, please. I need to talk to you. Brandon's voice, rough and desperate. The court ruling. You took everything. You left me with nothing. You left yourself with nothing. That was your choice. I'm living in a studio apartment now. I can barely afford it after child support and spousal support. I have nothing. You should have thought of that before you spent money on hotel rooms and gifts for your mistresses. I know I screwed up. But this is too much. You're destroying me. No, Brandon. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure my children have what they need. Our children. They're our children. They're my children. You lost the right to claim them when you chose someone else over them. That's not fair. I made mistakes, but I'm still their father. Then act like one. Pay your child support. Show up for your supervised visits. Be a decent human being. Maybe someday they'll forgive you. They won't even see me. I've tried calling them. Isaiah blocked my number. Zara won't come to the phone. Because they're hurt. Because you hurt them. Help me fix it. Please. Talk to them. Tell them I'm sorry. No. Nadia, please. No, Brandon. This isn't my job anymore. You want a relationship with your kids? You earn it. You put in the work. But don't expect me to do it for you. I'm done carrying you. She hung up and blocked the number. But it didn't stop. Over the next few days, Brandon ramped up his efforts. He sent flowers to the house with a card that read, I'm sorry. I'll spend forever making this right. Nadia threw them in the trash without even bringing them inside. He sent letters. Long, rambling letters about how much he loved her, how he'd made a terrible mistake, how he'd do anything to fix their marriage. Nadia filed them away without reading past the first few lines. They might be useful if he tried to claim she was keeping the kids from him unfairly. He showed up at her work. Nadia had started at the boutique the week before, helping customers and learning about retail while she planned her return to school. She was ringing up a customer when Brandon walked in, looking disheveled and desperate. Nadia, please. Just 5 minutes. Her manager, a kind woman named Helen, immediately stepped between them. Sir, you need to leave. Now. I just need to talk to my wife. Ex-wife, Nadia corrected coldly. And I have nothing to say to you. You can't avoid me forever. We have children together. We have to communicate. We communicate through lawyers. That's it. Now leave or Helen will call the police. Brandon looked around at the other customers watching the scene with interest. His face flushed red. This isn't over, Nadia. Yes, it is. It's been over. You just haven't accepted it yet. He left, but Helen made Nadia take a break in the back room to calm down. Is he going to be a problem? Helen asked gently. I don't think so. He's just desperate. He's realizing what he lost. Well, if he shows up again, we're calling the police. You don't deserve to be harassed at work. But Brandon didn't come back to the boutique. Instead, he tried a different approach. He started showing up at the kids' school. Not at pickup time when Nadia was there, but in the mornings. He'd park across the street and watch as Isaiah and Zara went inside. The school called Nadia after a teacher noticed him there 3 days in a row. We can't legally stop him from sitting in his car on a public street, the principal said. But we wanted you to be aware. And we've instructed all staff not to release the children to anyone but you without explicit written permission. Thank you, Nadia said, her stomach churning with anger and worry. I'll talk to my lawyer about a restraining order. But Patricia advised against it. Unless he's threatening or trying to take the kids, a judge won't grant a restraining order. He has parental rights even if they're limited. Sitting in his car watching them go into school isn't illegal, just creepy. So Nadia started driving the kids to school herself instead of letting them walk the 3 blocks. She walked them right to the door, watching until they were safely inside. And she made sure they knew not to go with their father for any reason unless she specifically told them it was okay. 2 weeks after the court ruling, Nadia was making dinner when someone knocked on the front door. She looked through the peephole and saw Courtney Wells standing on her porch. Nadia's first instinct was to ignore her. But curiosity won out. She opened the door but didn't invite the other woman inside. What do you want? Nadia asked flatly. Courtney looked terrible. Her red hair was pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes were swollen like she'd been crying. She wore jeans and a green sweater that hung loose on her thin frame. I wanted to apologize, Courtney said. For everything. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I needed to say it. Okay, you said it. Now leave. Please just let me explain. I didn't know he was lying to you. He told me you had an open marriage. That you didn't care what he did as long as he was discreet. Nadia laughed bitterly. And you believed him? I wanted to. I was in love with him. Or I thought I was. Courtney's voice broke. But then everything fell apart and I found out there were others. I wasn't special. I was just the current one. I know. I found the burner phone. I saw all the others. You knew about them? Courtney looked shocked. I know everything. Every lie he told, every woman he saw, every dollar he spent on his affairs. I documented all of it for court. Courtney's face crumpled. I'm such an idiot. I thought he was going to leave you for me. He kept saying he would, that he was just waiting for the right time. But he was never going to leave, was he? No. He wanted to have it all. A wife at home and women on the side. He wanted the stability I provided and the excitement you provided. He's selfish. That's all he is. I lost my job, Courtney said quietly. After everything came out, I couldn't stay at the company. Everyone knew. Everyone was talking about me. I had to quit. That's unfortunate for you. And Brandon, he's been calling me, begging me to help him get you back. He thinks if I tell you that it was all my fault, that I seduced him, you'll forgive him. He's delusional. I know. That's why I'm here. To tell you the truth. It wasn't all me. He pursued me for months before I gave in. He bought me gifts, took me to expensive dinners, promised me things. He's a liar and a manipulator, and you're right to be done with him. Nadia studied the woman on her porch. A year ago she might have felt sympathy for her. But now, after everything, she just felt tired. Thank you for telling me. But I already knew all that. I didn't need you to confirm it. I know. Courtney wiped at her eyes. I destroyed a family. Your kids saw me with their father. That's on me too. I wanted you to know I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Your apology doesn't change anything. My kids are in therapy because of what they saw. They don't trust easily anymore. They've learned that people lie and betray each other. That's what you and Brandon taught them. I know. I'll carry that forever. Good. You should. Nadia started to close the door. Don't come here again. If Brandon sends you to plead his case, tell him it won't work. I'm done with both of you. She closed the door and locked it, then leaned against it, her heart pounding. Isaiah appeared at the top of the stairs. Was that her? He asked. The woman from the pool? Yes. What did she want? To apologize. But apologies don't fix anything, do they? Isaiah came down the stairs and hugged her. At 12 he was almost as tall as she was. No, they don't. But we don't need them to apologize. We're better off without them. Nadia held her son close. Yes, we are. That night, after the kids were in bed, Brandon called again from yet another number. Nadia almost didn't answer, but something told her she needed to end this once and for all. Stop calling me, she said when she picked up. Courtney came to see you. She told me. Yes, she did. She confirmed what I already knew. That you're a liar and a manipulator. I sent her there to help me. To tell you it wasn't all my fault. It was all your fault. You're a grown man, Brandon. You made choices. You don't get to blame anyone else for them. I'm falling apart, Nadia. I can't eat, I can't sleep. I've lost everything that mattered to me. Then maybe you'll learn something from it. Please. Please just give me another chance. I'll do anything. Couples therapy, individual therapy, whatever you want. Just don't give up on us. There is no us. There hasn't been in us for years probably. I just didn't know it. Don't say that. It's true. You checked out of our marriage a long time ago. I was just too trusting to see it. But I see it now. And I'm not going back. You're really going to throw away 14 years? I'm not throwing anything away. You did that when you started cheating. I'm just accepting reality. So that's it? You've already moved on? You're seeing someone else? The question caught Nadia off guard. What? No. I'm not seeing anyone. I'm focused on my kids and rebuilding my life. But you will eventually. You'll date other men. Let them around my children. If and when I date, that's none of your business. And yes, if I find someone worth introducing to Isaiah and Zara, I will. Because I'm allowed to move forward with my life. This is insane. You're being unreasonable. No, I'm being healthy. I'm choosing myself and my kids over someone who hurt us. That's not unreasonable. That's self-respect. I don't recognize you anymore. Good. Because I'm not the woman you married. That woman put everyone else first. This woman knows her worth. And her worth is a lot more than you ever gave her credit for. She hung up and turned off her phone completely. Tomorrow she'd change her number. She was done with Brandon's desperate attempts to fix what he'd broken. He needed to accept that it was over and move on with his life. As she got ready for bed, Nadia looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. She looked different than she had 2 months ago. Thinner maybe. Tired around the eyes. But also stronger. More certain. More herself. She'd survived the worst. The betrayal, the confrontation, the court battle, the harassment. She'd survived all of it. And she was still standing. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight she was at peace. She'd protected her children. She'd secured their future. She'd stood up for herself. And that was worth more than any apology Brandon or Courtney could ever offer. Nadia had hoped to keep the details of her divorce private, but in a tight-knit suburb like hers, secrets never stayed secret for long. By the 3rd week after the court ruling, everyone seemed to know about Brandon's affairs and the dramatic end to their marriage. The first indication came at church that Sunday. Nadia had debated whether to go. She and Brandon had been active members for years, attending services every week, volunteering for community events. Would people judge her? Would they ask awkward questions? But she refused to hide. She'd done nothing wrong. So she dressed Isaiah and Zara in their Sunday clothes and walked into the sanctuary with her head high. The reactions were immediate and overwhelming. Sister Paula, who ran the women's ministry, practically sprinted across the lobby to embrace her. "Oh honey, we've all been praying for you," Paula said, holding Nadia tight. "That man should be ashamed of himself." "Thank you," Nadia managed, surprised by the warmth. "And don't you worry about those children," Paula continued, glancing at Isaiah and Zara. "The youth group leaders know what happened. They're going to make sure these babies feel loved and supported." More people approached. Pastor Jerome pulled her aside to offer counseling services. The choir director, Miss Althea, pressed a casserole into her hands along with a fierce hug. Brother Marcus, who worked with the men's ministry, shook his head sadly. "I thought I knew Brandon," he said. "Thought he was a stand-up brother. But what he did, unforgivable. You and those kids deserve better." Nadia felt tears prick her eyes. She'd been so worried about judgment, but instead she was surrounded by support. Her church family was rallying around her, not turning away. After service, as they walked to the car, Isaiah looked up at her. "Everyone was really nice, Mom?" "Yes, they were. I thought people would be weird about it, but they weren't. They were mad at Dad, not at us." "That's because it's not your fault, baby. None of this is your fault." At the grocery store that week, Nadia ran into her neighbor Carol Martinez. Carol's son Tommy was in Zara's class at school. "Nadia," Carol said, leaving her shopping cart to come over. "I heard about everything. I'm so sorry." "Thank you, Carol. Listen, I want you to know that if you need anything at all, you just call me. If you need someone to watch the kids, or if you need help around the house, or if you just need someone to talk to, I'm here." "I appreciate that." Carol lowered her voice. "And between you and me, Brandon's reputation is shot in this neighborhood. Everyone knows what he did. Multiple affairs? While you were home raising those beautiful children. There's no excuse for that." Nadia nodded, not sure what to say. "Marie Johnson saw him at the gas station last week," Carol continued. "She told me he looked awful. Like he hasn't been eating or sleeping. Good. He should feel awful." After Carol moved on, Nadia continued her shopping, but she noticed other neighbors whispering and pointing. Some came up to express support. Others just watched from a distance, curious but not quite brave enough to approach. At the checkout, the cashier, a young woman Nadia didn't know, smiled at her. "You're Nadia Thompson, right?" "Yes. I just want to say I think you're really brave. My mom went through something similar and she stayed with the guy. She was miserable for years. But you stood up for yourself. That takes real strength." Nadia was touched. "Thank you. That means a lot." The community support extended to Isaiah and Zara as well. Their teachers called to check in. The school counselor offered additional sessions if they needed them. Friends' parents invited them for playdates and dinners, giving them normalcy and fun while Nadia dealt with the adult matters of divorce. But not everyone was supportive. There were some who seemed to blame Nadia for the marriage ending, who thought she should have tried harder to work things out. Mrs. Henderson from down the street stopped her one afternoon while she was getting the mail. Mrs. Henderson was an older woman, married for 40 years with old-fashioned views about marriage. "Nadia, dear, I've been meaning to talk to you," Mrs. Henderson said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I heard about your marital troubles." "Not troubles. Divorce." "Yes, well, I just think it's such a shame. Marriage is work, you know. Sometimes we have to forgive things that are hard to forgive." Nadia stiffened. "Mrs. Henderson, with all due respect, there's a difference between forgiving small mistakes and accepting repeated betrayal. But your children. Think of what this divorce will do to them. Children need their fathers. My children need healthy examples of relationships. They don't need to see their mother accept disrespect and infidelity as normal. Mrs. Henderson's mouth pursed. I just think you're being hasty. Brandon made mistakes, but he's still your husband. In my day we worked through these things. In your day women often didn't have choices. I do. And I choose not to stay with someone who betrayed me repeatedly and traumatized our children. Nadia's voice was firm but not unkind. I appreciate your concern, but my decision is final. She walked back to her house before Mrs. Henderson could respond. Inside, she leaned against the door, taking deep breaths. She knew not everyone would understand. Some people would always think a woman should stay, should try harder, should put up with anything to keep a marriage intact. But those people didn't matter. What mattered was that she was teaching Isaiah and Zara that self-respect wasn't selfish. That boundaries were healthy. That walking away from something broken wasn't failure but strength. At work, the support continued. Helen, her manager, had become a friend. She often pulled Nadia aside during slow moments to check in. How are you doing? Really? Helen asked one afternoon while they were reorganizing a display. Better than I expected, Nadia admitted. Some days are harder than others. But I'm managing. You're doing more than managing. You're thriving. I've watched you these past few weeks. You're stronger than you were when you started here. I feel stronger. Like I'm finally becoming who I'm supposed to be. Good. You deserve that. Helen paused. And I want you to know I'm giving you more hours if you want them. You're great with customers and you have a real eye for style. I was thinking about having you help with buying decisions too. Really? Really? You're wasted just running the register. I want to utilize your talents. The increased responsibility and hours meant more money, which Nadia desperately needed. Child support and spousal support helped, but she wanted to be as financially independent as possible. She didn't want to rely on Brandon for anything more than absolutely necessary. One Saturday afternoon, Simone came over with her husband Greg and their 2 kids for a barbecue in the backyard. It felt good to have family around, to hear children's laughter mixing with adult conversation, to feel normal again. You know what I love? Simone said as they sat on the patio while Greg handled the grill. How you've handled all this. You could have fallen apart. You could have gotten bitter and angry. But instead you're building a new life. I am angry, Nadia said honestly. I'm furious at Brandon for what he did. But I can't let that anger consume me. I have kids to raise. A life to build. Still, a lot of women wouldn't have been so strong. I didn't have a choice. Well, I did. But staying wasn't really a choice. Not if I wanted to respect myself. Greg brought over a platter of burgers and hot dogs. Speaking of Brandon, I heard from a guy at work that he's been telling people you're being unreasonable. That you're keeping the kids from him out of spite. Nadia's jaw tightened. Of course he is. He can't accept that the kids don't want to see him. It's easier to blame me than to look at what he did. Well, for what it's worth, nobody's believing his story. Everyone knows he screwed up. He's the one who looks bad, not you. That was some comfort. Nadia had worried that Brandon would spin the story to make himself look like the victim. But apparently, even his friends could see through that. Later that evening, after everyone had gone home and the kids were in bed, Nadia sat on her back porch with a cup of tea and thought about how much her life had changed. 2 months ago, she'd been a wife and mother who defined herself through her family. Now she was a single mother, a working woman, a person reclaiming her own identity. It wasn't easy. Some nights she lay awake worrying about money, about the kids, about the future. But other nights, like tonight, she felt a peace she hadn't felt in years. The peace of knowing she was on the right path, even if it was a hard one. Her phone buzzed with a text from a number she didn't recognize. She almost ignored it, assuming it was Brandon with yet another burner phone. But curiosity made her open it. Hi Nadia. This is Christine from the women's group at church. We're organizing a support group for women going through divorce or separation. We'd love to have you join us. No pressure, just wanted you to know the option is there. You're not alone. Nadia smiled and typed back, thank you so much. I'd love to join. She wasn't alone. That was what all these reactions from her community showed her. She had people who cared, who supported her, who wanted to see her succeed. She had a church family, neighbors, co-workers, and friends who were lifting her up instead of tearing her down. Brandon had isolated himself through his actions. He was the one who'd burned bridges, ruined his reputation, lost the respect of people who'd once admired him. That wasn't her doing. That was his. And while Nadia didn't take pleasure in his downfall, she didn't feel guilty about it either. He'd made his choices. Now he was living with the consequences. Meanwhile, she was surrounded by love and support as she built something new. Something better. Something real. And that made all the difference. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Nadia was settling into her new normal. She'd enrolled in online classes at the community college, starting to rebuild her interior design education one course at a time. Work at the boutique was going well, with Helen trusting her with more responsibilities. The kids were adjusting, slowly but surely, with regular therapy helping them process their feelings. Brandon had stopped the constant harassment. He paid his child support on time, knowing that any slip-up would get him back in court. He showed up for his supervised visitations, though Isaiah still refused to go and Zara only went occasionally. The supervising social worker reported that the visits were awkward but not harmful. Nadia thought the drama was behind her. She was wrong. It started with a phone call on a Tuesday evening. Nadia was helping Zara with her homework when her cell rang with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Is this Nadia Thompson?" A woman's voice, shaky and tearful. "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Courtney Wells. Please don't hang up." Nadia's first instinct was to do exactly that. But curiosity kept the phone pressed to her ear. "What do you want, Courtney?" "I need to talk to you. I know you probably hate me and you have every right to, but I need to tell you something. About Brandon." "I don't care about Brandon. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. I'm begging you." Something in the woman's voice made Nadia pause. She sounded desperate. Broken. 5 minutes? Talk. Can we meet in person? I have things to show you. Documents. Evidence. Evidence of what? Of other women. Lots of other women. Going back years. Nadia's stomach turned. She already knew about some of the others from the burner phone. But Courtney sounded like she had more. "Why would you want to show me this?" "Because I thought I was special. I thought I was the only one, or at least the most important one. But I wasn't. He lied to me just like he lied to you. And I think you deserve to know the full truth." "Fine. But not at my house. And nowhere private." They arranged to meet at a coffee shop the next day. Nadia felt nervous as she drove there, not sure what to expect. Part of her didn't want to see Courtney again. But another part was curious about what the other woman had found. Courtney was already there when Nadia arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a large manila envelope in front of her. She looked even worse than she had when she'd shown up at Nadia's house months ago. Her red hair was dull and unwashed. She'd lost more weight. Dark circles ringed her eyes. "Thank you for coming," Courtney said as Nadia slid into the booth across from her. "You have 5 minutes. Actually, you have less than that now. Start talking." Courtney pushed the envelope across the table. "I've been doing some digging since everything fell apart. Brandon kept telling me I was paranoid that there was nobody else. But I found his other phone. Not the one you found. Another one." "Another burner phone?" "Yes. With conversations going back 5 years. There are at least 6 other women. Some were short-term things. Others lasted months. All while he was with me and with you." Nadia opened the envelope and pulled out the contents. Screenshots of text messages. Photos Brandon had sent and received. A timeline Courtney had created showing when each affair had overlapped. "I confronted him last week," Courtney continued. "Showed him all of this. He tried to deny it at first, then admitted it. He said we were all just fun, that none of us meant anything real to him." "Why are you showing me this?" Nadia asked, still looking through the documents. "The divorce is already final. This doesn't change anything for me. Because you should know what kind of man he really is. And because I'm going to the police." That got Nadia's attention. "The police? For what?" One of the women was 19. An intern at his office. She's claiming he pressured her into the relationship, that she felt like she couldn't say no because he was senior to her. That's harassment at minimum, possibly worse. Nadia felt sick. Does she have proof? Messages. And another intern who says he tried the same thing with her. The company is doing an internal investigation. He might lose his job. Good, Nadia said coldly. He should. I know. I needed you to know I'm doing something. I'm trying to make this right. I can't fix what happened to you and your kids, but maybe I can stop him from doing this to anyone else. Nadia looked at Courtney carefully. The other woman was clearly suffering. But Nadia couldn't find it in herself to feel sympathy. You didn't come here for my blessing. So why did you really want to meet? Courtney's eyes filled with tears. Because I feel guilty. So guilty. I helped destroy your family. I was sleeping with your husband while you were home with your kids. I knew it was wrong, but I told myself lies to make it okay. That you two had an understanding. That the marriage was already over. But those were just excuses. Yes, they were. I can't take it back. I can't fix it. But I wanted to face you and tell you that I know what I did was wrong. I wanted to see the person I hurt and acknowledge that hurt. Okay. You've acknowledged it. Does that make you feel better? Courtney flinched. No. Nothing makes me feel better. I hate myself for what I did. I wake up every day wishing I could go back and make different choices. That's your burden to carry. Not mine. Nadia started to gather the documents back into the envelope. Can I keep these? Yes. I made copies for myself, but those are yours. Thank you for bringing them. It's good to know the full scope of his lies. Nadia stood up. But I want to be clear about something. This doesn't make us friends. This doesn't absolve you of what you did. You made choices that hurt my children. I'll never forgive that. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to do one right thing after so many wrong ones. Nadia left the coffee shop and sat in her car for a few minutes, processing what she'd just learned. Brandon hadn't just had a few affairs. He'd been a serial cheater for years, possibly their entire marriage. He'd targeted younger women at his office, used his position to pressure them into relationships. She felt disgusted, but also relieved. She'd made the right choice leaving him. Every piece of evidence that came out just confirmed that. When she got home, Simone was there with the kids. Nadia had asked her sister to watch them during the meeting, not wanting them to overhear anything. Well? Simone asked after the kids went upstairs. What did she want? Nadia showed her sister the documents. Simone's face darkened as she read through them. He's a predator, Simone said flatly. That's what this shows. He targeted young women, used his position of power, maintained multiple relationships at once. This is beyond just cheating. This is a pattern of manipulation and abuse. I know. Are you going to do anything with this? Report it somehow. Courtney said she's already talking to the police about the intern situation, and his company is investigating. I don't need to get involved. I have enough to deal with. Fair enough. But Nadia? I'm proud of you. For what? For not gloating. For not taking pleasure in his downfall. You could be celebrating that he's finally facing consequences. But instead you're just focused on moving forward with your own life. That's real maturity. Nadia smiled sadly. I don't have energy for gloating. I just want to live my life. 2 weeks later, the news broke that Brandon had been fired from his job. The company's investigation had found evidence of inappropriate relationships with multiple junior employees. They terminated his employment immediately. Nadia heard about it through the neighborhood gossip chain. Carol Martinez called to tell her, sounding almost gleeful. Did you hear? Brandon got fired for sleeping with interns. Plural. Everyone's talking about it. I heard, Nadia said calmly. Aren't you happy? I mean, he's getting what he deserves. I'm not happy or sad about it, Carol. It's not my business anymore. He's not my husband. What happens to him doesn't affect me. But that wasn't entirely true. Brandon losing his job meant his child support payments were at risk. Patricia called later that day to discuss it. He's claiming he can't pay the full amount now that he's unemployed, Patricia said. He wants the court to reduce his obligations. Can they do that? They can review it. But we'll fight it. He was fired for cause, which means he brought his unemployment on himself. The judge isn't likely to reduce support under those circumstances. Good. There's something else. Courtney Wells filed a lawsuit against him. Civil suit for emotional distress. She's claiming he manipulated her into the relationship under false pretenses. Nadia laughed. She was a willing participant. I know. But she's spinning it as if she was a victim of his lies. It probably won't go anywhere, but it's another legal headache for him. Not my problem. No, it's not. Which is good. You're well rid of him. As the weeks passed, Nadia watched from a distance as Brandon's life continued to fall apart. He moved from his studio apartment to an even smaller place. He started working as a delivery driver, a massive step down from his previous career. His reputation in the community and industry was destroyed. Meanwhile, Nadia was thriving. Her classes were going well, and she'd gotten an A on her first design project. Helen had given her a raise and more hours. The kids were happy and healthy, finally starting to feel secure again. One evening, Nadia ran into Brandon at the grocery store. It was the first time they'd seen each other since the final court date. He looked terrible. Thinner, older, defeated. Nadia, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Brandon. How are the kids? They're fine. Doing well. Do they ever ask about me? Sometimes. Could I maybe try to see them again? Not the supervised visits. Just something casual? Nadia considered it. Isaiah still wanted nothing to do with his father. But Zara had mentioned recently that she missed some things about Brandon. His terrible jokes. The way he used to make pancakes on Saturday mornings. I'll ask them, Nadia said finally. But I'm not going to force them. If they say no, that's final. Thank you. That's all I'm asking. They stood there for an awkward moment. Then Brandon said, I'm sorry. I know I've said it before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve what I did to you. No, I didn't. But I've moved past it. I hope you can too. I don't know if I can. I destroyed everything good in my life. Then maybe you'll be more careful with the next good thing you find. Nadia picked up her shopping basket. Take care of yourself, Brandon. She walked away, leaving him standing in the produce section looking lost. She felt a twinge of pity for him. Just a twinge. He brought all of this on himself. But she was done being angry. Done letting his choices affect her peace. She had her own life to live, her own future to build. And that future was bright and full of possibility. Brandon's unraveling was complete. But Nadia's rising had only just begun. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Brandon's lawyer filed a motion to modify the custody agreement and reduce child support. Patricia called Nadia immediately when she received the paperwork. He's claiming changed circumstances, Patricia explained. Job loss, reduced income, and he's arguing that the kids should be ready to have more contact with him by now. Isaiah still doesn't want to see him at all, Nadia said. And Zara only agreed to have lunch with him twice last month. Both times she came home upset. That's exactly what we'll present to the judge. We have reports from the therapist documenting the ongoing emotional impact. We have evidence that he brought the unemployment on himself through his behavior. This should be an easy win, but we still need to take it seriously. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. Nadia threw herself into preparation, gathering documentation of every child support payment, every therapy session, every interaction or lack of interaction between Brandon and the kids. She also asked Isaiah and Zara if they wanted to speak to the judge themselves. In the state they lived in, children over 12 could have their voices heard in custody matters. I want to, Isaiah said immediately. I want to tell the judge that I don't want to see Dad more. I'm not ready. Are you sure? It might be hard. I'm sure. Dad thinks he can just show up now and everything will be fine. But it's not fine. He hurt us. I need time. Zara was less certain. Do I have to talk to the judge? No, baby. You don't have to if you don't want to. Your therapist can speak for you if that's easier. Okay. I want Mrs. Linda to talk. I don't want to see Dad in court. The night before the hearing, Nadia couldn't sleep. She thought she was done with courtrooms and judges. The divorce had been hard enough. Now she had to fight again to protect her children's well-being. But she was ready. She'd documented everything, prepared her testimony, and chosen a red blazer and black pants to wear to court. She wanted to look strong, capable, and professional. In the morning, Simone came over to watch Zara while Nadia took Isaiah to the courthouse. Isaiah wore his best clothes, looking older than his 13 years now. He'd grown several inches in the past few months and his voice was getting deeper. You nervous? Nadia asked as they drove downtown. A little. But mostly I'm just ready to get this over with. Patricia met them outside the courtroom. Isaiah, you doing okay? Yes, ma'am. Good. Remember, just tell the truth about how you feel. The judge isn't going to force you to do anything you're not ready for. They entered the courtroom. Brandon was already there with his lawyer, Robert Chin. Brandon looked better than he had at the grocery store. He'd gained back some weight and was wearing a decent suit. But his eyes looked haunted when he saw Isaiah walking beside Nadia. The judge was the same woman who'd handled their divorce, which Nadia took as a good sign. Judge Williams had been fair and thorough before. We're here regarding the motion to modify custody and support in the case of Thompson versus Thompson, Judge Williams said, reading from her notes. Mr. Thompson, you filed this motion. Let's hear your arguments. Robert Chin stood. Your Honor, my client has experienced significant financial hardship since the divorce was finalized. He lost his employment and has been unable to find comparable work. He's currently working as a delivery driver, making approximately 1/3 of his previous salary. The child support and spousal support obligations are crippling him financially. I see. And what employment efforts has Mr. Thompson made? He's applied to numerous positions in his field, but his previous termination has made it difficult to secure interviews. Mr. Thompson was terminated for cause, correct? For inappropriate relationships with subordinates? Robert Chin shifted uncomfortably. Yes, Your Honor. But he's learned from his mistakes and is attempting to rebuild his career. Noted. What about the custody modification request? My client would like to have more regular visitation with his children. The current arrangement of supervised visits twice a month is not allowing him to build a proper relationship with them. He's requesting unsupervised visitation every other weekend and one evening per week. Judge Williams looked at Patricia. Ms. Monroe, response? Patricia stood and Nadia felt her confidence surge. Your Honor, Mr. Thompson brought his financial difficulties on himself through his behavior. He was fired for sexual harassment of junior employees. That's not changed circumstances beyond his control. That's consequences for his actions. As for the custody modification, the children are not ready for increased contact. Isaiah Thompson is here today and would like to address the court directly. Zara Thompson's therapist has provided a written statement. Very well. I'll hear from Isaiah. Isaiah stood and walked to the witness stand. Nadia's heart clenched watching her son face his father across the courtroom. The judge spoke gently to him. Isaiah, I know this is difficult. I just want to hear from you about your relationship with your father. Can you tell me how you're feeling about visitation? Isaiah took a deep breath. I don't want more time with my dad. I'm not ready. Can you tell me why? Because he hurt my mom. He hurt our whole family. My sister and I saw him with another woman, kissing her, when we were supposed to be spending time with him. That really messed us up. I've been in therapy for months trying to deal with it. Has your father apologized? Yes, a bunch of times. But sorry doesn't fix what he did. And I don't trust him anymore. How can I trust that he actually wants to spend time with me and not just fight with mom about custody? That's very mature of you to articulate that. Do you think you might want more time with your father in the future? Maybe. I don't know. But not now. Right now, I need space. I need to feel safe and normal again. And seeing Dad more would make me feel stressed out. Thank you, Isaiah. You can step down. Isaiah returned to sit beside Nadia. She squeezed his hand, proud of how he'd handled himself. Judge Williams read through the therapist's statement about Zara, then looked at Brandon. Mr. Thompson, do you want to respond to your son's testimony? Brandon stood, his voice breaking. I love my kids more than anything. I made terrible mistakes and I've apologized over and over. I just want the chance to be their father again. I understand they're hurt, but I'm worried that the longer this goes on, the harder it will be to repair our relationship. That's a valid concern, Judge Williams said. But we have to balance that against the children's current emotional needs. Ms. Monroe, do you have anything else to present? Patricia presented the therapist's reports, showing that both children still had anxiety around their father. She presented evidence of the 2 lunches Brandon had with Zara, after which Zara had regressed emotionally, having nightmares and increased anxiety. Your Honor, Patricia concluded, forcing these children into more contact with their father right now would be harmful. They need time. They need to heal. The current arrangement is working. They know he's there when they're ready, but they're not being pushed before they're comfortable. Robert Chin tried to argue that Nadia was poisoning the children against Brandon, but Patricia shut that down quickly by pointing out that Nadia had never said a negative word about Brandon to the kids. The therapist confirmed this. The children's feelings were their own, based on what they'd witnessed and experienced. Judge Williams took a short recess to review all the evidence. 30 minutes later, she returned with her decision. I've carefully considered all testimony and evidence presented today, she began. Regarding the modification of child support, I'm denying that request. Mr. Thompson's unemployment is a direct result of his own misconduct. He has no one to blame but himself for his current financial situation. The support obligations will remain as originally ordered. Brandon's face fell. But the judge wasn't done. Regarding custody and visitation, I'm also denying the modification request. The children have made their feelings clear through their testimony and their therapist reports. They are not ready for increased contact with their father. The current arrangement of supervised visitation twice per month will continue. Your Honor, Robert Chin stood. Could we at least transition to unsupervised visits? My client has shown he can handle the supervised ones appropriately. The children don't feel safe with unsupervised visits at this time. We will revisit this in 6 months. If the children show progress in therapy and express willingness to expand visitation, we can modify then. But it will be based on the children's readiness, not Mr. Thompson's wishes. The judge banged her gavel. This hearing is concluded. Nadia felt relief wash over her. She'd won. Again. The kids were protected. Their wishes were being respected. Outside the courtroom, Patricia pulled her aside. That went as well as it possibly could have. The judge clearly respects the children's voices and sees through Brandon's attempts to manipulate the situation. Thank you. For everything. You're welcome. And Nadia? This is probably the last time you'll have to deal with this. Brandon's running out of options. His lawyer knows they can't win. I suspect he'll stop fighting and just accept the terms. Isaiah was quiet on the drive home, staring out the window. Finally, he said, "Do you think I hurt Dad's feelings? When I said I didn't trust him? Probably. But you told the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. I feel bad. Like I'm being mean." Nadia pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face her son. "Listen to me. You're not being mean. You're protecting yourself emotionally. Your dad hurt you. He broke your trust. You have every right to take the time you need to heal. Don't let guilt make you do something you're not ready for. What if I'm never ready? What if I never want a relationship with him again? Then that's okay too. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to decide who gets to be close to you, even if that person is your father." Isaiah nodded slowly. "Okay. Thanks, Mom. Anytime, baby." When they got home, Zara ran to meet them. "What happened? What did the judge say?" "Nothing changes," Nadia told her. "You and Isaiah get to keep things just the way they are. You don't have to see Dad more unless you want to." Zara's whole body relaxed. "Good. I was worried." "No need to worry. The judge listened to what you both needed. That's what mattered." That evening, after the kids were in bed, Nadia sat on her back porch and reflected on the day. She'd been through 2 court battles now. Won both of them. Protected her children both times. She felt proud. Not vengeful or gleeful. Just proud that she'd stood up for what was right and won. Brandon had tried to use the courts to get what he wanted. Tried to force his way back into the kids' lives before they were ready. Tried to reduce his obligations to his family. And he'd failed. Because the truth mattered. The children's well-being mattered. And Nadia had the evidence and the strength to prove both. Her phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "Congratulations on today. You've earned this peace. Now go enjoy it." Nadia smiled and typed back, "Thank you. I plan to." And she did. She went inside, poured herself a glass of wine, and curled up on the couch with a book about starting your own business. Because that was the next step. Not just finishing her degree but building something of her own. Brandon was in her rearview mirror now. And the road ahead looked bright. 9 months post-divorce, Nadia's life looked completely different than it had a year ago. She'd finished 4 classes toward her interior design degree with straight A's. She'd been promoted at the boutique to assistant manager with a significant pay increase. Most importantly, she felt like herself again. The kids were doing better too. Isaiah had joined the school basketball team and was excelling. Zara had started taking art classes and discovered a talent for watercolor painting. Both still attended therapy, but the sessions were less frequent now. They were healing. Brandon had finally stopped fighting. After losing the second court battle, he'd accepted the arrangement as it stood. He showed up for his supervised visits when the kids agreed to go, which was maybe once a month now. He paid his support on time, working 2 jobs to make it happen. He'd stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped trying to force his way back into their lives. It was peaceful. And Nadia realized she liked peace. She liked not having to wonder where her husband was or who he was with. She liked making decisions about her life without having to consider someone else's opinion. She liked being just Nadia, not Nadia the wife, not Nadia the betrayed woman. Just Nadia. One Saturday morning, Nadia was at the farmer's market with Simone, browsing fresh vegetables and handmade crafts, when someone called her name. "Nadia? Nadia Thompson?" She turned to see a woman about her age with a warm smile and friendly eyes. It took Nadia a moment to place her. Oh my goodness, Tasha Williams? They'd gone to high school together. Been friends, actually, before Nadia had gotten married and gradually lost touch with most of her pre-marriage friends. "It's me," Tasha laughed, pulling Nadia into a hug. "I heard you were back in the area. How have you been?" "Good. Really good, actually. I heard about your divorce. I'm sorry you went through that." "Thanks. But honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened to me." They chatted for a few minutes, catching up on the years between. Tasha owned her own graphic design business and had never married. She seemed happy, fulfilled, living life on her own terms. "You know," Tasha said, "I'm part of a women's networking group. We meet twice a month for dinner and talk about business. life, supporting each other. You should come to the next one. I'd love that. Tasha gave her the details, and they exchanged phone numbers with promises to stay in touch this time. Who was that? Simone asked when Tasha walked away. An old friend from high school. She invited me to a networking group. That's great. You should go. You need to build your own circle, not just rely on your married friends. Simone was right. Most of Nadia's friends had been couple friends, people she and Brandon had socialized with together. After the divorce, she'd realized how few of those friendships had been truly hers. Most of the wives had drifted away, uncomfortable with the divorce or unsure how to relate to her now that she was single. But that was okay. It was time to build new connections with people who appreciated her for who she was now, not who she'd been as part of a couple. 2 weeks later, Nadia walked into the restaurant where the networking group was meeting. She felt nervous like the new kid at school. But Tasha spotted her immediately and waved her over. Everyone, this is my friend Nadia. She's working on her interior design degree and managing a boutique downtown. The other women welcomed her warmly. There were 7 of them total, all professional women in various stages of their careers. Some were married, some single, one was divorced like Nadia. But their marital status wasn't what defined them. What defined them was their ambition, their support for each other, their determination to build lives they were proud of. They talked about business challenges, shared resources and contacts, discussed work-life balance. Nobody asked Nadia about Brandon. Nobody treated her like a victim or like she needed to be fixed. They just accepted her as she was. It felt wonderful. On the drive home, Nadia realized she'd laughed more tonight than she had in months. Real laughter, not forced cheerfulness for the kids' benefit. She'd felt energized by the conversations, inspired by the other women's stories. This was what she'd been missing. Community with people who understood her as an individual, not just as someone's wife or mother. The next morning, Nadia sat down with her laptop and started working on a business plan. 4 months, she'd been toying with the idea of starting her own interior design consultation business. Something small at first, just taking on a few clients while she finished school. But with the encouragement from the networking group, it suddenly felt possible. She researched the local market, looked at what other designers were charging, drafted a simple website. She used her employee discount at the boutique to photograph some outfits in styled settings, showing her eye for color and composition. She created business cards and a social media presence. Within 2 weeks, she had her first client. Carol Martinez from down the street wanted help redesigning her living room. It was a small job, but Nadia threw herself into it with enthusiasm. She created mood boards, sourced furniture and decor, helped Carol pick out paint colors. When the room was finished, Carol was thrilled. Nadia, you have such a gift. This is exactly what I wanted but couldn't figure out how to do myself. Thank you. I really enjoyed the project. You need to do this professionally. Like really professionally. I have so many friends who would hire you. Carol wasn't exaggerating. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood and church community. Within a month, Nadia had 3 more clients. Small jobs, mostly single rooms or consultation services, but it was a start. She created an LLC, got business insurance, opened a separate business bank account. She was building something of her own. Something Brandon couldn't take credit for, couldn't diminish, couldn't touch. The kids watched her transformation with interest. One evening Zara asked, "Mom, are you happy?" "What do you mean, baby?" "I mean, are you happy now? Without Dad?" Nadia considered the question carefully. "Yes, I am. I'm not happy about how things ended. I wish your dad hadn't hurt us the way he did. But I'm happy with who I'm becoming. I'm happy with the life we're building." "Good. Because I like seeing you smile again. I like smiling again too." As the months progressed, Nadia continued to grow. She finished her fall semester with perfect grades. Her business grew steadily, with clients coming through referrals and word of mouth. She joined a professional interior design association and attended workshops to build her skills. She also started thinking about dating again, though she wasn't in a rush. A few men had asked her out. The assistant pastor at church, a single father with 2 kids. A customer at the boutique who came in regularly just to chat with her. A guy from her networking group's male counterpart that Tasha tried to set her up with. She politely declined all of them. Not because she was still hung up on Brandon or traumatized by the divorce, but because she was enjoying discovering who she was as a single woman. She was enjoying having time for herself, for her kids, for her dreams. Maybe someday she'd date again. But right now she was dating herself. Learning what she liked, what she wanted, what she dreamed of. And that was enough. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, Nadia looked around her living room at the celebration Simone had organized. Her family was there, along with friends from church, colleagues from work, members of her networking group. Even a few clients had come. "A toast," Simone said, raising her glass. "To Nadia. 1 year ago your life fell apart. And you took those broken pieces and built something even better. You went back to school. You started a business. You raised 2 amazing kids. You showed all of us what strength and grace look like. We're so proud of you." Everyone clinked glasses and cheered. Nadia felt tears spring to her eyes, but they were good tears. Happy tears. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you all for supporting me this year. I couldn't have done it without you." Later that evening, after everyone had left and the kids were in bed, Nadia sat on her back porch with a cup of tea. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Congratulations on your 1-year milestone. I heard through the grapevine about your design business. I'm genuinely happy for you. You deserve good things. I hope you can forgive me someday. Brandon." Nadia read the message twice. Then she deleted it without responding. She didn't need Brandon's congratulations or his hopes for forgiveness. She'd moved beyond needing anything from him. She looked up at the stars, feeling peaceful and content. Her life wasn't perfect. She still had hard days. Still worried about money sometimes, about the kids, about the future. But those worries were hers to manage. And she was managing them well. She'd survived betrayal. Survived divorce. Survived the complete upending of the life she'd thought she'd have. And she'd done more than survive. She'd thrived. This was just the beginning. The future stretched out ahead of her, full of possibility. Full of potential. Full of promise. And for the first time in years, Nadia was excited to see where that future would take her. The January sun streamed through the windows of Nadia's new office space. She stood in the center of the room, looking around with satisfaction at what she'd built. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked downtown. Design samples lined one wall. A large desk sat in the corner with her laptop and a vase of fresh flowers. A sitting area with a blue couch and armchairs created a welcoming consultation space. Nadia Thompson Designs had been officially open for 6 months, but today was the grand opening celebration. She'd moved from working out of her home to this professional space, hired an assistant, and had more clients than she could handle alone. Her business was thriving. "Mom, this place is amazing," Isaiah said, walking around the office with his phone out, taking pictures. At 15 he was nearly 6 feet tall and looked more like a man than a boy. He'd gotten a basketball scholarship to a private high school and was excelling both academically and athletically. Zara spun around in the desk chair, her art portfolio tucked under one arm. At 11 she'd become quite the young artist, with her watercolors winning awards at school. "Can I put some of my paintings up on the walls?" "I was hoping you'd say that. I want this space to feel like family." Simone arrived carrying a tray of cookies from the local bakery. "The caterers are setting up outside. Are you ready for this?" "Ready as I'll ever be." The grand opening was scheduled for 2 hours from now. Local business owners, potential clients, friends and family were all invited. Nadia had worked with a marketing consultant to promote the event, and the RSVPs had been overwhelming. She'd come so far in 2 years. After finishing her associate degree, she'd immediately started her bachelor's program. She was set to graduate in 3 months with honors. Her business had grown organically through word of mouth and social media, to the point where she'd been featured in a local magazine's Women in Business issue. But more than the professional success, she was proud of how she'd rebuilt her life. How she'd raised 2 incredible kids through one of the hardest periods of their lives. How she'd found herself again after years of being lost in someone else's shadow. The grand opening was a success beyond her expectations. Over 100 people came through during the 3-hour event. She gave tours of the space, accepted congratulations, and booked 3 new consultations on the spot. Toward the end of the event, Nadia noticed Brandon standing near the back of the crowd. She froze for a moment, surprised he'd come. They hadn't spoken directly in over a year. All communication went through email regarding the kids, and even that was minimal. He looked different. Better. He'd gained back the weight he'd lost and then some. His hair was graying at the temples. He wore a simple blue button-down shirt and khakis. He caught her eye and gave a small wave, not approaching but acknowledging his presence. After most guests had left, Brandon approached cautiously. "Congratulations, Nadia. This is really impressive." "Thank you." She kept her voice neutral. "I hope it's okay that I came. Isaiah mentioned the grand opening and I wanted to see what you'd built." "It's fine. It's a public event." An awkward silence fell between them. Finally Brandon said, "You look happy." "That's good. You deserve to be happy." "I am happy. The kids are doing great too. Isaiah tells me about school sometimes during our visits. And Zara showed me her art portfolio last month. They're both amazing." The visits had expanded over the past year. Not dramatically, but the kids occasionally agreed to supervise dinners with Brandon. Isaiah went maybe once every 2 months. Zara slightly more often. It wasn't the relationship Brandon had hoped for, but it was something. "They are amazing," Nadia agreed. "They're strong kids. Because of you. You raised them through all of this with such grace. I know I've said it before, but I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved so much better than what I gave you." "Yes, I did. But I've moved past it. I hope you have too." "I'm trying. I'm in therapy now. Really working on myself, trying to understand why I did what I did. Not making excuses, just trying to be better." "That's good, Brandon. For you and for the kids." Are you seeing anyone?" The question surprised her. "That's not really your business." "I know. I want you to be happy. Even if it's with someone else." "I'm happy. With or without someone else." Brandon nodded, looking down at his feet. "I heard Courtney got married. To some guy she met in her therapy group. I thought you might want to know." "I don't care what Courtney does. That's her life." "Right. Of course." He shifted awkwardly. "Well, I should go. Congratulations again on all of this. You've really built something special." After he left, Simone came over. That looked civil. It was. Strange but civil. "How do you feel?" "Nothing." I felt nothing looking at him. No anger, no sadness, no longing. Just nothing. "He's like a stranger who happens to be my kid's father." "That's growth." "That's healing," Nadia corrected. The following week, Nadia attended the wedding of one of the women from her networking group. It was a beautiful ceremony full of love and joy. But Nadia found herself thinking not about romance but about the life she'd built for herself. She didn't need a partner to feel complete. Didn't need someone else to validate her worth. She'd discovered she was enough all on her own. That wasn't to say she was opposed to dating. She'd gone on a few casual dates over the past year. Nice men, interesting conversations. But nothing had sparked enough to pursue seriously. And that was okay. She was in no rush. One spring afternoon, 3 months after the grand opening, Nadia received an award from the local Chamber of Commerce for Emerging Business of the Year. She stood on stage at the luncheon holding the plaque and gave a short speech. 2 years ago I was at my lowest point. My marriage had ended. My world had fallen apart. I had to figure out who I was outside of being someone's wife. And what I discovered was that I was capable of so much more than I'd ever imagined. I want to thank everyone who supported me during that transition. My sister Simone, my children Isaiah and Zara, my friends, my clients, and my community. You believed in me when I was still learning to believe in myself. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to all of you." The audience applauded. After the ceremony, several women approached her to share their own stories of divorce and reinvention. She exchanged cards and promised to stay in touch. The networking and connection never stopped. That evening, Nadia took the kids out for a celebratory dinner at their favorite restaurant. Over burgers and fries they talked about their days, their plans, their dreams. "Mom," Isaiah said, "I'm proud of you. You know that, right?" "I know, baby. I'm proud of you too." "No, I mean really proud. You could have given up when Dad messed everything up. You could have been bitter or angry or just shut down. But instead you built this whole new life. You showed Zara and me what real strength looks like." Nadia felt tears spring to her eyes. "That means everything to me. And I'm not angry at Dad anymore," Isaiah continued. "I mean what he did was wrong. But I understand now that people mess up. And I can forgive him for that while still protecting myself. You taught me that. That forgiveness and boundaries can exist at the same time." "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best." Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Nadia sat in her home office and updated her business plan. She was considering hiring another designer to help with the growing client load. Maybe even opening a small boutique that combined interior design consultation with home decor sales. The possibilities felt endless. And that was the beauty of where she was now. She wasn't limited by someone else's choices or mistakes. She was free to build whatever future she wanted. Her phone buzzed with an email from Patricia, her lawyer. They'd become friends over the past 2 years, occasionally meeting for coffee to catch up. "Saw your award announcement in the paper. Congratulations. Remember when you first walked into my office, scared and uncertain? Look at you now. You're an inspiration. Nadia smiled and typed back, "Thank you for everything you did to help me get here. I couldn't have done it without your guidance." As she got ready for bed, Nadia looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. She looked different than she had 2 years ago. There were a few more lines around her eyes, a few more gray hairs starting to show. But there was also a lightness to her expression that hadn't been there before. A confidence. A peace. She'd survived betrayal, divorce, single parenthood, financial struggles, and starting over from scratch. And she hadn't just survived. She'd built something beautiful from the ashes of what had been destroyed. Her life wasn't perfect. She still had tough days. Still worried about money occasionally, though less than before. Still dealt with the complications of co-parenting with someone who'd hurt her deeply. But those challenges didn't define her anymore. She was defined by her strength, her resilience, her capacity to love and be loved, and her determination to create a life she was proud of. Brandon had called from his trip 2 years ago, expecting to come home to the same life he'd always known. Instead, he'd rushed home to find everything changed. Not because Nadia had destroyed anything, but because she'd finally started building something real. And now, 2 years later, what she'd built was remarkable. A thriving business. 2 well-adjusted children. A community of support. A sense of self that couldn't be shaken by anyone else's actions. She'd gotten her revenge not through bitterness or retaliation, but through living well. Through proving that she didn't need Brandon to be happy. Through showing her children what it meant to rise above pain and create something beautiful. As Nadia climbed into bed, she felt grateful. Not for what had happened, but for who she'd become because of it. The betrayal had broken her open, but in that breaking, she discovered a strength she never knew she had. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities. But tonight she was content. Content with where she was, who she was, and where she was going. She'd started this journey in pain and chaos. But she was ending it in peace and power. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.